Exactly that. The word that we use all the way through is community. You want lots of cogs, you want lots of revenue streams, because
Yeah.
that makes your business more sustainable and safer.
Welcome to Football Business TV, and I'm delighted to be joined by David Faulkner, the chairman of Redditch United. David, how you doing?
Very well, thank you. Very well.
Good. Appreciate you having you here for a special episode of Rooted in the Game, which you certainly are. We just had a brief chat off camera, and it's certainly a dedication from your perspective. Before we get on to kind of all things Redditch, give us a little bit of background as to you and the journey that's brought you here.
My background's education, so I worked in college and universities after graduating myself. But then that path took me to delivering education within football clubs. A lot of non-league clubs now have sort of education program type things, which have become really, really popular. And I'd probably argue I was part of that very first inception when that came about. And bizarrely, my first touch of that link between college education was actually down the road to Redditch. Was what was our biggest rival at the time was in Bromsgrove Rovers, and after a year of running there, and quite openly, it was. I think the club was in a very bad place, and the program definitely was. We actually moved the program to Redditch United, and that was in 2009. And that year, Bromsgrove Rovers, as such, actually went under, and they've now reformed as Bromsgrove Sporting, and are now back at our level. But I've then worked different football clubs, rugby clubs. I've done golf programs, different things that link education and sport. So
Yeah.
that sort of got me into working in and around non-league and sports clubs. And I said my first attachment here was 2009, and worked here on and off doing different bits, and then had the opportunity to take on the club from the previous chairman, which I did. In between, I'd had a company, and different contracts were sold and whatnot, and it gave me the opportunity to move in here. And so education is a big part of what we do now, and it's a big part of the opportunity then to help move the club forward.
Brilliant. A roundabout journey, but always with football kind of on the
Yeah.
horizon, I guess. Yeah. For those that aren't familiar with Redditch, how would you describe Redditch United? Maybe not in one line, but a brief description of the club on and maybe off the pitch from a community perspective.
Exactly that. The word that we use all the way through is community. I think that was we are very much a community-based club. A lot of clubs will say that, but I
Yeah.
think for us, it's very much part of what we're trying to do. Because if you're looking at running a football club at the moment sustainably, and there's not many football clubs out there that are trying to do that.
No.
But we very much are. I'm not a multimillionaire. We're trying to run it sustainably, and so the mission statement for us for the last few years is purely to grow our community footprint. And it sort of came with the ethos that if we wanted the town, and Redditch is a really interesting town for lots of reasons, and the history of it, it was set up as one of the government's new towns like 60 years ago, and it's a really weird. If you look at the conurbation of Redditch town centre is on the outskirts of the town, which makes no
Okay.
sense. But
Yeah, that's
where
different. Yeah.
Redditch is like the old town as such was, so where the train station is, the shopping centre, and us, that they built Redditch like to the southeast of that area.
Okay.
So if you look at Telford, that was also a new town at the same time. They built Telford around Telford, but Redditch they sort of built off to one side. It's got a weird dynamic in the town. But now it's got 90,000 people that live in it, and a lot of those are Redditch was set up as a new town, it's like a Birmingham overspill. So there's quite a lot of attachment in the town to say Birmingham City and Aston Villa particularly. And I think as the town's changing now, the identity of Redditch is starting to change, and so the young kids now don't know the history and they're just from Redditch. Whereas if you speak to someone in their 40s or 50s, they're probably from Birmingham, or a large chunk of them are. So what we try to do is engage that 90,000 people, and the mission statement was, if we want the town to support us, we've got to support the town, and we had to do more to
True.
show the town what we offer them and what we can do for the people of Redditch. And that's what, probably very proud at the moment. We've made some real big milestones to be able to sort of prove now what impact we make, and that support now has come back in different ways through growth of our junior section, growth of our match day attendances, growth of our women's and girls, and all that sort of stuff. So commercial growth, we're starting to really see that working hand in hand, and with
Good.
90,000 people in the town, there's a long way that can continue to grow.
Mm. Yeah, no, I agree. You touched on sustainability a little bit there, and it's really well known, I think, by most, certainly within the game, that non-league football can be a walking on a financial tightrope. Where is the focus in terms of revenue generation for you guys as a club currently, and do you see that changing going forward or expanding?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say something like that. I see it as the football club isn't running our business; it's running seven. So when we look at
Yeah,
our numbers, you've got the men's first team, the women's first team, your junior section. We've got like a CIC company runs like community, schools, provision, holiday camps, whatever. We've got a bar, we've got a kitchen, we've got merchandise, we've got
yeah.
advertising, sponsorship, we've got commercial stuff. So we've got lots of different areas, and it's fitting all those into the machine that is Redditch United. Now the cogs all turn. So if you look at basic business, very basic business understanding is you want lots of cogs, you want lots of revenue streams because
Yeah.
that makes your business more sustainable and safer. And so
Hmm.
we we've gone down that route. So there isn't really a main focus point, and the bits of the business interact with each other really well. So
Yeah.
if you've got junior football here on a Saturday or Sunday morning, you're going to sell a few bacon sarnies and cups of coffee. Without
Yeah.
the juniors, the kitchen wouldn't do anything. But
Mm.
without the kitchen, the parents of the players that are here don't get the same experience, and
Yeah.
so they have to they interact with each other really really well, and that's it's very basic business concept really that you're spreading your bets because as much as one thing can be a massive asset, that same asset is a massive liability if it
Yeah.
breaks
Yeah.
down. So we haven't got a predominant really, we and I always sell it as it's a machine with
Mm.
all different moving cogs. And so at the moment there isn't a standout one, but all those different areas build to make the club successful.
Yeah, of course I do. I mean, you touched on 6 or 7 revenue streams, but obviously, like you've said, the asset can be a liability as well, and there are lots of outgoing avenues, should we say, whether it's investment in the squad, the facilities, wage bills and things like that. How do you? And you're obviously trying to make a real splash in that town and the surrounding areas. How do you manage or balance sustainability, not risking the club with the ambition that you want to show in order to attract people to the club?
Very easy. You can only spend what's in the bank. So
No, that's true.
that's
Yeah, yeah,
it's the we were in the playoffs season before last, and everyone's going, what more are you going to spend on players if you get promoted? And it's like, well, the same as we do now. Whatever we've
yeah,
got, the maximum we
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
we can do in all areas, we'll spend the money on facility we need to, and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, last summer we went after that playoff. We had the last few games of the season with cold showers because the boiler went, and that was a 30 grand boiler
Oh,
replacement
of
that you've just got to spend the money on. So,
course you have. Yeah,
those things they do happen, and this summer was we've probably touched not far off 300 grand this summer. We've had the 3G relayed. That's included the shock pad, so it's like the best 3G spec pitch
yeah,
that money can buy. Which again, when you look at trying to engage the pride of the town, we have literally the best money can buy artificial
yeah.
pitch that our community uses. That's a good
And I
thing.
was going to say it's important for every level as well. Right? Kids love playing on good surfaces. The first team, whoever. But I'm assuming that's a good revenue generator for the club as well in terms of pitch hire and stuff, is it?
Yeah, so I mean, yesterday we've got a send education provision. So we are, and again goes back to what we're trying to promote. We're the only
Yeah, yeah,
football club in the country with a special educational needs disability program, education thing based at the football club in the country. So they had
cool.
a big festival day yesterday with different colleges coming in to play within our stadium, which in itself is great. The night
Yeah,
then you've got all your junior teams, men's team train, women's team train all together on one
Yeah,
pitch
yeah.
at the moment out there now. Our mainstream education group are on the pitch now, and then later on it'll be another group. Then you've got an under-18s game. Then tomorrow morning it'll be junior
Brilliant.
football and a first team game, and and that's us. So that that but that investment over the summer, when you do the pitch, we had the dugouts done. We had a damp problem we discovered in the changing room, so they've had to go back
Ooh.
to plaster. We've had to have all the furniture replaced in there. That was probably a 10 or 12 grand issue that had to be solved. And little bits of carpets in the function room had to be done, a few grand, and all them things. Like you are right, it's a constant drain, like a lot of
Mm.
businesses are. But we've got to try and keep on top of the facility and keep it looking nice, because we want people to keep coming and having
Yeah,
fun
of course.
or
Yeah.
having, enjoying the facility and making it a nice place to be. And at the moment,
Yeah.
very, very proud. And this is not me saying, it's everybody else who's come from our league and things this year. And, saying that this is as good as the ground's ever looked.
Oh,
Lots
good.
of advertising boards, nice and bright, brand new pitch.
Yeah.
We had the floodlights redone a couple of years ago. It's a nice place to be, and it's something that people feel safe at, they feel welcome at, they feel
Mm.
it's a nice vibe at the moment, and long may that continue.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's especially when you're catering for a real local crowd and local group, it's really important for them to have somewhere that they're proud of, right? So the facilities and that are obviously really important. You talked a lot about stuff you had to react to, boiler problems, issues of damp, and things like that, which are always a nightmare. Uh, has that put on hold any plans that you've got to add to the facilities now? Obviously, you've just made a huge investment in the pitch and the dugouts and things like that. Is there anything else on the horizon that the attendees can look forward to?
Yeah, I mean, we're all guilty. You look at any non-league ground, especially. You can blue sky think and I'd do this and I'd build that and I'd do that, and
Mm.
it's quite. When you start explaining these things, you're like, yeah, but we've just sat here and pondered and spent 2 million quid. The actual cost of some of these things
It's
is
easy.
ridiculous. Yeah, I think that the one thing I'd say now is, and again, I've got to be really careful how I say this, and when I say this to make sure I explain it fully, but the football now in our club has become more important. So at the
Yeah,
time when I took the club on, there was other issues that needed to be addressed. So we had to grow revenue streams. We had to, spend some money on the function room to make it fit for, not a football club room, but fit for
yeah,
Doreen's 50th birthday, and
yeah. Of
as
course,
a
yeah, yeah.
function venue for networking events and whatever. We've installed an education facility with like 3 big classrooms in. That then helps us with the education part of what we do. So there were bigger things to sort of get drilled down to, and obviously we had an artificial pitch before, but that
Yeah.
relay, the clock was ticking, and now we've
Mm.
managed to get that one done. So now we can possibly start thinking ahead on other stuff. But if you're going to look at the football ground then as football, if we get promoted to step 2, the pitch is now ready to do that. The lights are now ready to do that.
Yeah.
Um, the only thing really, and we have played above this level before, so we're quite fortunate in some bits of area. But if we did go to step 2, the only thing we'd have to do now is we need 250 covered seats in one stand, whereas at the current level we've got to have 250 covered seats and they're split between 2. So
Yeah.
that's the only big thing we'd have to do. And I think it's 250 covered seats in one stand with the ability to go to 500. So my understanding is we'd go and build a 500 seat stand. Now,
Yeah.
if you play at step 2, you've then got Premier League stadium improvement funding. That if it's part of your ground grading, which would require it to be at the level above, we'd be able to access funding to help us. And generally, it's around about 70%. So
Mm.
I've already had quoted the 250 covered seat to go at the far end of our ground where there's no stand as such. And imagine a stand now. I think it's 4 or 5 tiers of seating, one long stand set into 5 modules, and it basically goes from 18-yard box to 18-yard box. That's 120 grand. So if you want a 500 seat, you basically double it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but the benefit then is we'd be able to access funding to help support that. So the club
Mhm.
gains another asset, and obviously makes the stadium better,
Yeah.
makes it better for supporters, home and away. So that now we've got the sort of, as I was saying, like the groundwork's done. If we've got a women's team that play at a high level, a men's team that play at a high level, then that's going to bring additional people, additional
Yeah.
attention. So, like now, I'd say that's probably the next big thing we can do without building another education facility, relaying our car park,
Yeah, another pitch.
another function room. Yeah, like
Yeah, yeah.
of course, you'd love to do. The next probably realistic big thing is to try and promote ourselves up the football pyramid for both of
Mm.
our senior teams.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, you touched on the experience of the fans a little bit there, and with against the facilities conversation, like new stand and things like that. What does a typical match day, if there is a typical match day at Redditch, look like for, in terms of attendance? What's the atmosphere like for the fans? And have you got any plans to improve on that this season or next in terms of the match day experience?
Yeah, I mean the match day experience is we're a I mean, I think if you look at clubs at our level, the ground is probably one of the more impressive ones. There's a big,
Yeah,
I mean, the main stand I'm sat in now was built in the 70s. It's a good traditional, non-league
yeah,
big stand, function rooms at the top with a great view of the
love
pitch.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So like we're quite fortunate in that respect. I think with a match day experience for me, it's the little things, and again, these are all things that have had to be done the last few years to get us to where we are. But the turnstiles are making sure the queues are right and the
mm,
ticket system's effective, making sure the outlets, don't have massive queues and that the products are good from the kitchen and the bar. We spent a lot of money on PA systems go around the ground and inside the rooms. So you can try and create a better atmosphere. I suppose one of the positives and negatives for the ground at the moment, it's very big, it's very open.
mhm.
We've made some tweaks to sort of try and hug it in and sort of and obviously a crowd then helps. So if we
Yeah,
go back to the season before, I took the club on, the average attendance was 211. Last
wow,
year we were 631, I think it was,
that's
and
incredible.
this year
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
over 700. So that then creates a better match day experience because there's a better atmosphere.
yeah,
And I think this ground, for me, when this ground gets to 1,000, it's different.
yeah,
And so we're trying to do as much as we can to keep building that crowd. And again, if you go back to sustainability for your senior teams, it's all about the people that come down the hill and watch us. It's just there's no other way of making football sustainable. It's all about the people that come through the turnstile. There's no
yeah.
other revenue stream that is as consistent and
Mm,
as will have a bigger impact than that. You can have the 1 year you get a great sponsor or the one opportunity, or you might get your benefactor who wants to support the team, but it doesn't
yeah,
happen forever. And football can tell
no,
you that year after year after year.
yeah,
Gretna FC, Rushden and Diamonds. I mean, you had in our league a couple of years ago, 10% of our league didn't compete the year after.
no,
So
it's crazy.
Nuneaton folded,
Mm,
and Colville were going to, and basically threw their hands up and effectively said that the statement was to be ran sustainably, but it's cost the owner 400 grand over the last few years. It's like, well, but they can't both be right. And
yeah,
so
you might need to
they
speak to the
were,
accountant about that one. Yeah,
yeah, they were going to fold, and I think in the end they've gone down to, I think it was step 6, and sort of
yeah,
demoted themselves a couple of times because I don't know. That's a team that were in the playoffs for the last few
yeah,
seasons. It's like, well, so same with Rushden. I really take that the Rushden story is one I've always looked back. Gretna FC. If anyone had never seen that, there's a great BBC documentary. It's on YouTube about
yeah,
Gretna
yeah,
FC, and the local business guy takes it over, spends the money. They're going. I think they win the Scottish Cup. They played in Europe, and
yeah,
then I remember. I think he got ill. Obviously, the
mm,
funding went, and the club went.
yeah,
So my take on that, and the teams that have spent above, and then again eventually you sort of fall to a natural level. What
yeah,
was the point? I just
yeah,
I just don't see the point in having that.
yeah, yeah,
But then, you speak to a fan, would you rather have two good seasons, or would you rather have promoted 1 year and relegated the other? That's a debate
yeah.
within football fans. I think a lot would
It
probably
is.
say
Yeah,
they'd rather be promoted and relegated than have two good seasons. But if you're looking at growing the club sustainably over a period of time, and I won't be here forever, Our football club's 137, I think it is, years old. We're older
Mm,
than Newcastle, Liverpool, and Chelsea. You know,
yeah.
that's a lot of responsibility, and I want to make sure that the club's here, in the future for a lot longer as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. I don't know whether you've seen it. We did a piece with Mark Fairbrother, the MD at Millwall, and he said exactly this, not word for word, but almost exactly what you've just said there, in terms of dealing with the local fans, dealing with all the fans, and managing expectation, but also saying, like, what would you prefer? And I said, Millwall are 100, I think they're 140 years old as well. And, he said, we want the club to be around 140 years. And I'm pretty sure most of the real fans would want that as well, right? They still want a football club to pass down to their sons, grandsons, daughters, granddaughters, and I think it's so important to manage that as well. In terms of you talked about coming down the hill, which is I love that saying, actually, coming down the hill to watch the team. The local community contribute to the audience, the attendees, the fans, people buying merchandise, whatever it might be, and I would imagine an affinity with the players if they're local is a big thing as well, right? So if you've got guys or girls that have done well and made it through to the first team, it makes a big difference, because the fans, especially the younger ones, can resonate and look up to somebody that is from their area or whatever. What's the pathway look like from the youth side of things for you to the first team, from the minis to the first team? Are you getting lots of the locals making it to that level?
Yeah, and I'll make a statement now that um, I've thought about. I did. I've thought about it a bit. I don't think there's another non-league club local to us, or one that I've heard of that's done as well in that area. I don't think. I mean, for a lot of clubs, like you'll have like a youth player that might do a few appearances or whatever, that sort of
Yeah,
stuff. But like we've got a consistent over a number of years where we've had players that have come through our system and progressed. Henry Smith a few years ago, it was like we've got photos of him as an under 7, and then he's
oh,
playing
brilliant.
here. I think it was West Brom game. He played near in a senior cup, and there's like 1,000 people here. And that's a great story. The
Yeah,
current goalkeeper in our women's team, who saved the penalty in a shootout a couple of weeks ago, we've been in our education program for the last couple of years. And then Tuesday night was a really good one. I think the end of the game on Tuesday, we had a good win away at Houso in one of our sort of local teams. And I think at the end of it, the manager was saying there was something like 5 or 6 under 20s on the pitch at the end, and 4 of them were 18 and
brilliant,
under. Um,
brilliant.
so we're quite fortunate. We've got our education group, but also other players within the club. But the education pathway allows us for them to train full time with us. So that's a college, and then from this year we've actually added a university level provision as well.
Oh,
So
okay,
those, I mean, and it is a big, if you're 17, 18 playing at step 3, that's a very,
yeah,
very good achievement. But so
definitely, yeah,
it
yeah.
becomes more realistic then when you get to sort of 19, 20. And we've got a really experienced manager who's done this development bit at other clubs for a number of years. And it's one of the main reasons we attracted him in, is we've got this belief. And in fact, one of our senior players at the moment, Robbie Bunn, is from Redditch, and he was part of the education group when I was running it back in. I
Oh,
think I
really?
yeah he I'm kind of think, I think he came in 2010 or 2011. He started, so he's now with the club.
That's a brilliant story.
Still later on. So I don't think there's a lot of people who will have the odd appearance, but consistently season after season after season,
Mm.
we've got players that do that, and it's not the class of '92 doesn't happen in football. You
No,
don't have 7, 8 that
that's
then
why.
play
That's why they've
in
got
your
their own. That's
team.
why they've got their own name, right? Because it
This
just
is it,
doesn't
yeah.
happen.
But at the
Yeah.
same time, to provide that opportunity, some will stay at the level, some won't, and that's
Yep.
football. But to have that opportunity to be able to do that, and we've done that as a club very, very successfully. And to be fair, even before my time, it's something the club's done quite well.
Mm.
And players have progressed on to professional football from here. It's probably something we don't shout about enough, but I think
Mm.
you'll struggle to find a club that's had as many develop up as us. That's a big
Brilliant.
statement.
And as we talked about, it's a huge statement, and
Mm.
one you should definitely shout about a bit more. And I love those kind of stories. People that have got an affinity with a club, not just for footballing reasons. You touched on the education stuff, and it's massively important for life, let alone
Yeah.
just football. So I love that. You touched on the young lady now playing in goal for the girls team after coming through the education program with you. What does the women and girls program look like at Redditch now in terms of participation and their current performances, and what plans do you have for the female side of the game, which is obviously a huge focus for lots of clubs now?
Yeah, I think the women's end as in the senior team's always been relatively successful and been quite stable at the club now for a number of years. And um, but what we've got an aspiration to is our girls provision isn't strong. At the moment we've got the main thing of, as we're trying to grow teams, we're full. So we've exhausted our facilities.
Right.
We have a waiting list of teams and players every year because I mean we're hiring out I think 2 or 3 local pitches as well, like artificial pitches. Plus we've got our own stadium. We don't have external hire; it's just all of our teams effectively.
Mm,
And so we struggle to gain more teams. We've got nowhere for them to go, and so we're
right.
constantly trying to find more resources. We've got a funding pot at the moment that we're trying to work on with the FA to redevelop the grass pitches that are near the stadium, and that will allow us to get more change rooms and make them fit for purpose because they're not at the moment. And that'll give us more of an opportunity. But within the women's and girls bit, like locally to us, there's a girls only sort of football club, and so that is a challenge for us growing girls players,
Yeah.
because I think that with that choice, but we're trying to grow more links with them, and we're trying to grow from the base up. We've just got an advert out for I think it's under 6s, under 7s girls team. I mean, we've got quite a few girls that play within the club, but again, whether people agree or not, I think if it's my daughter, um, girls that progress at a good level often go in mixed teams until they're a bit older.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you've got a younger girl, some parents seem to prefer a girls team, and some girls would, but I think a lot of people prefer the mixed teams. And we've got a girl at the moment who has gone from us into like a pro club, and it's because she's played in one of our other age groups. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not just about boys and girls teams. Although we've got a massive aspiration to try and grow, and like everything, it's got to grow from the ground up. If we
Yeah.
can get an under 14s team come across, it's not the same as developing your own and trying to get them through all the age groups. So we've got a big push out at the moment for like our community sessions on a Monday, and we're trying to create a group that hopefully then can come with us and we can grow that side of the club. But ultimately, it's going to also come around facilities because it's boys and
Mm,
girls teams. We're at the moment we're handcuffed, and we could be a lot bigger, but we just got nowhere for people to play. And that's the speak to the FA and the Football Foundation. This is the big issue at the moment. You've got, and this
mm.
is where the home advantage program, I think it's called, the FA. Councils have got loads of pitches everywhere, land everywhere, but no money to maintain them. So the
Yeah.
quality
Yeah.
of pitches in the country is generally poor. Then you've
Mm,
got the FA and the Football Foundation that have got access to the funding, but don't own any land or don't have access. So this new program, from my take of it, seems to be the sort of, we get a longer lease on the ground. The FA will then be able to put infrastructure in to be able to support that, and hopefully between the two parties, we can get the facilities better,
yeah.
than than they are now. And it's not just us. I think across the country that's the same. Council pitches struggle because the council have got no
Mm,
money. Half the councils in the country are
yeah.
going bust at the end of the day. So, but the FA, it's a big thing, and the FA take quite a lot of hits. But I've got to admit, from my end, I think the things they're doing now, they've just brought out a part to support women's and girls football to try and change facilities to be more women's and girls appropriate.
Mm,
I mean, again, this stand, we come here in the 40s. This stand, and most of our ground was built in the 70s. It wasn't built with women in mind. Society's
yeah. Of
now
course.
changed. Football's
Yeah. Yeah.
changed. So there's a lot of facilities like ours that we're trying to add. Add more women's toilets, improve the facilities for women on site. And that's going to help. I think the FA have, for me, done really, really well, and they do support clubs at our level really well,
Yeah.
with infrastructure and facilities to make us sustainable, um, and to make us be able to be better facilities to serve more people. And I can't speak highly enough really of our county FA. and the Football Foundation, the support they give us. And without them, we wouldn't be where we are now. No way, because we wouldn't. Some of the capital investments, like say floodlights,
Mm,
you wouldn't be able to justify the spend on some of them things.
of course.
Although they'd make a difference, you just wouldn't get the return on it. But through these different bits of funding, it does help support the infrastructure of the game, and that's what's helped us. A non-league at the moment, a
Yeah.
vast improvement what it's been in recent years, and these things have really helped the pyramid at the bottom end to really become far more viable and far more professional in the way it works.
Yeah, it's crucial, and I think with clubs like yours that are, I would imagine lots of the running of the club is based around volunteers and people that are going to give up their time for free. And how do you? And it's so difficult. I always say to people, do you realise? Because I've been not in your shoes, but on the kind of grassroots level of football, and people don't realise the level of dedication from people that are working in the game and contributing to local communities, all that kind of stuff. They don't realise how difficult it is to bring people in and to keep them on side long term, right? How do you go about doing that? Recruiting the right people, retaining them is difficult if they're volunteers, obviously, and then recognizing them. Is there a future path to employment? Is that maybe a link to your education stuff that you talked about?
Yeah, I think that the volunteer thing for me, and again, this is not football. It's society. People are busier. I think the most valuable thing that anyone can give you is their time, and
Yeah,
we've got some unbelievable people that we've got a group that come on a Wednesday morning and effectively empty all the bins around the ground and put them in the main bin, and it's a job that needs doing. They've done it for years and years, and rain or shine, winter or not, they're here at the crack
brilliant.
of dawn, and that's very, very heartwarming. I mean,
Mm,
pretty much all of our coaching workforce for our junior section are volunteers. There are a number of people that help out on match days. You know, people that support different parts of the club. Our media for our women's team at the moment has been outstanding, and it's because of one of the coaches who's a volunteer but also does the media stuff. And
okay.
um, I'd say, do we do enough to recognise and support? No, because I don't think you can, and I find it really,
Mm,
really difficult because when you understand that the time they give you is so valuable. It's really. I don't think you can. I don't think you can repay them
no,
for
I'd agree.
the effort they put in, and so it is a challenge. But what I would say, and probably better asking them more than me, we have been really good in like retaining the people that we've got.
Mm.
Some of the people that we've got here have been here for genuinely like decades.
Yeah,
Our club secretary, the club president is one of the people that does the bins with us on a Wednesday, and he's been the kit man. He's still,
of course he has.
his wife
Yeah,
comes and helps out on match day now, as does the secretary's wife with like the away
brilliant.
teams hospitality and things. And so we've got a massive amount of media that help out on match days, photographers that are gaining experience and whatnot.
Yeah,
Jack, a university student, who does our match reports. Ethan, who does all the highlights. There's so many, and
yeah,
so
yeah,
do we do enough? The answer is no, but I think the strength really is the numbers that we've got and we've retained, and these people have been here for a number of years, so I think they do feel
yeah.
valued. I think the evidence is in that.
Oh, they must do. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because they keep coming, and what they produce, supporters like and comment on, and and they definitely. I'd imagine they feel the gratitude, but you can never do enough for some of them people that,
I agree.
as it is without them, they don't. I think one of the differences we have got within the club, because of the infrastructure we've got, is probably more than the typical club, especially at non-league. We do also have a really, really strong staff group.
Mm.
So we're probably at around about 10 full-time staff now, which for a step 3 football club is like a joke.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah,
I
yeah,
imagine that's probably bigger than most clubs at step 1.
yeah,
But they are also then they're very professional staff who are very experienced in what they do. And without them, and the volunteers and the supporter base and all the effort that is the club, which is
yeah,
the club is a big term that often gets bandied around, but
yeah,
I say the club is all these people. We've had some real big success and real big progress over the last few years, and hopefully it will continue the same.
yeah. Love to hear that. I think the blend of the employees plus volunteers probably creates that everyone moving in the same direction, which is great, and they obviously care and they obviously do feel valued. Otherwise, they wouldn't stay there, right? And they certainly wouldn't be turning up on a Wednesday morning to put the bins out if they didn't
Yeah,
enjoy being a
yeah,
part of the journey. That's for sure.
that's it.
On the other side of the coins, away from volunteers and looking again maybe a bit more at the revenue generation of the club. Um, has there been a particular sponsor, and I'm not saying someone came in and waved a magic wand and gave you an open checkbook or anything, but has there been a sponsor or a collection of sponsors that have made a real difference to what you're trying to do, investment-wise in the club, and what can you do as a club that isn't just, oh, here's a logo on a board that 600 or 700 people see on a Saturday or a Wednesday?
How long you got? We've got so many. I mean, when I first came in, we moved accountants because that's normal practice to do, and we had a conversation with a local accountancy firm, Zoo Accounting, and they were in my time the first sort of front of shirt sponsor that we had brought in, and at the time we were looking at, how do we effectively, if I remember rightly, it was around the classroom building. How do we try and create investment to be able to do this and all the different things you want to do around the club? And the conversation ended with we had a new investor, and Wayne and Zeta are now like shareholders of the club and bought in. So that was a sponsor
Brilliant.
story that went in a totally different direction, and
Yeah,
they're still
yeah,
with us now. And still support through obviously individually, but as their business as well. So that's been really successful. I'd say as a collective, one of the big things we've made this big effort with the women's team. We've been really well supported by a range of corporate sponsors there. The cleaning company we work with as a front of shirt sponsors, a load of different companies, sleeves and whatnot, that have really helped
mm,
to create that team as a sustainable team to move forward. I think there's a misconception with women's football that there's loads of funding, and it's just not the case. There's none
yeah,
all. So you've got to make that work, and without them, I don't think we'd be where we are. That commercial backing, the women's team, have a really good offer, and that we've got to try and make that sustainable. So they've been good.
yeah.
And I suppose that the big one that you can't really go unnoticed is, and it's definitely not an open checkbook, I'll give it that. But on the scale of things, again, I'm going to make another big statement here. I think I'm right in saying Redditch United have got the biggest company sponsoring our club than anyone else in the world. That's a big statement, that, isn't it?
Really?
So
It's a
our
huge
our
statement.
our front of shirt sponsor is Reddit. So Reddit is the sixth biggest website in the
Yes.
world.
Yeah, yeah.
Huge social media company. They came on board 18 months ago, and basically it was a play on the Redditch, and
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
it all went back to a comment that was made on the Reddit platform. I think it was like 15 years ago about the link between the two. Our current MD Ian, who was actually head of commercial at West Bromwell in the Premier League, so that's the level of the staffing that we're looking at now.
Yeah, yeah, very good.
Conversations happened, and we managed to put a deal together. So they're our principal partner. I think they're with us for 3 years
It's
initially,
incredible.
and at the moment, it's been a really good. We've got a Reddit branded third kit that Redditors on their platform designed and voted on this year, and that came from our home and away kit last couple of years. We've done that as a community offer where we get local people to design kits and we vote on them and
Yeah, very cool.
produce them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we did a version of that on Reddit this year. In fact, I personally went across to Holland a few weeks back with Reddit at one of their events holding at Nike's European headquarters.
Yeah.
And we've done lots of different things with them. We've had people at the games from California, New York, that have come across from Reddit. So it's been
Brilliant.
a really good. I mean, Reddit is, if you don't know, a platform, it's kind of an old school, like you'd imagine, like the web forums used to be. It's
My
sort of
missus
like,
loves it. She's quite creative, so she uses it for imagery and
yeah,
picture inspiration and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So like, see, it's like I'd see it as on its basic terms. You don't know it, like an old school web forum type where you've got different
Yeah,
groups. So Reddit is a community of communities. And
yeah.
if you look at the way that we try and promote our club, as it's all about the community, how we engage people, and
Yeah, makes
whatever.
sense.
The way I think ethics and values of the two organisations a hand in glove,
Mm.
and that's worked really, really well. And for again, when you look at trying to create pride in our town and engagement, what better way than we've got a
Yeah,
genuine
yeah.
global brand that associate with our club and our town, and the opportunities that has provided to us, and the platform that it's given us.
Mm.
It is something that when you look back, it's like actually
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is pretty special.
Incredible.
And
Yeah, yeah,
look at the
yeah.
size of the business and the company and whatever. I can't think of anyone who's got a bigger,
No, I
front of
mean,
shirt sponsor than that. It's crazy. It's
no,
absolutely
I mean,
crazy.
Barca might be up there with the Spotify Stadium deal, but apart from that, I think Redditch United leading the way in terms of
Yeah,
global shirt sponsorship is a pretty snappy headline for
yeah.
our production team to put on YouTube for sure. A couple of things before I let you get back to your day to day stuff. What does from a chairman's seat? What's Reddit deal aside? Because I'm sure that was a pretty proud day. What's been your proudest day of as since you've been the chairman of the club?
Um, I'd probably go. I think the send provision and the education part that we do, the partner we've got with Heart of Birmingham Vocational College, it's so unique.
Hmm.
You are genuinely the only football club in the country that offers that, to send learners, and the employability part. We've known this from the few years we work with them now, that the difference it's made to those young people is is there to see, and that's been
Mm.
that's been great. Aside from that, and again, it's probably intertwined into that. We've done last few years, we've what called a social impact report. So again, part of our way of getting people in the town to buy into what we're doing is we're trying to give back, and we're trying to show and demonstrate what we do for the town. So we've done it for the last few years, and it's been very narrative, very very much a story
Mm.
of what we do. And I went up to visit Lincoln, and I met their head of their community, and had a tour around their facilities, and they did a social impact report similar to ours, but theirs had loads of numbers in it, and effectively it was a bit of funding that the EFL gave to clubs to get them to measure their social impacts. It was something the EFL clubs did really really well. So I came back to our county FA, and basically asked the question. I said, "How do we do this?" And it actually works out. They were working on a project. I think a guy called Russ had led it, and I spoke with Kev, the chief exec, and I said the county FA have been brilliant. All their staff,
Yeah.
been so supportive, and we managed to get the funding for us to go basically through the same framework. They go through your accounts, they go through your numbers, participation, different teams, whatever, and volunteering hours, and it comes back with a social value. So when that calculation came back, the social value of Redditch United was at £3.9 million, which I think is pretty cool. And if you
Yeah.
look at
100%.
the and this has come from our MP, if you look at things that you do within a town as a council, as at that level, for the investment they give us, which we pay. This is a council owned facility. We pay to
Mm.
be here. That's quite a return on investment for the local
Yeah.
area.
Just a bit. Yeah.
And when I then did some digging on other EFL clubs, some published the information, some didn't, so it's quite hard to see. But some of them were like, and I might be, don't quote me on any of this stuff. I don't want to get a lawyer kicking off at me, but I think like Swindon Town, who when I was a kid were in the Premier League,
Yeah. Me too.
their social value was something like 1.1 million.
Wow.
So Derby County, as a founder member of the Football League, their report says theirs was something like 3.6 million.
And they've won the top league. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you
Crazy.
if you put that in perspective of what Redditch United then are doing in Redditch, that's a pretty outstanding statistic. And so
Yeah. I
we
agree.
did a dinner at our local college. We invited a lot of our stakeholders, as a reward really for them to say this is what we've achieved.
Mm.
And when people, it's one that always, but a bit of a bugbear. People talk about what the club are going to do for me and what the club are, doing about X, Y, Z issue. And it's trying to change that mentality that all these people, everyone comes with a turnstile, every parent, everyone comes with books of function, our local business network, people that read the paper, that like our Facebook post, that whatever it is, they're all
Yeah,
the club. And
of
so
course. Yeah,
everyone's
yeah,
been responsible for us being able to get that statistic out. And the way we did the dinner and brought people together and really celebrated that. And we've got some really attractive things, hopefully for next summer, to do more of the same and
yeah,
hopefully take that again to another new level. I'd probably say that was the culmination of the years of work, and hopefully now sets a benchmark that we can carry on, improving that. And if we can keep adding value to the town and we can keep providing for the town and supporting the town, hopefully the town then continues to support us and that keeps growing. And we'll see. We've 90,000 people had to try and get hold of. The opportunity for us to continue to grow and develop is quite exciting.
yeah. I look forward to a couple of years' time when 10 to 20% of the town's population are rocking up on a Saturday to enjoy
It'd be
themselves.
nice.
In yeah,
Yeah.
certainly would. I'm getting shouted at by the production guys that we're close to time, so
Good man.
maybe a bit of fun and a question you might not enjoy.
Okay.
Based on our social media
Huh.
discussion prior to going into recording, one player, past or present, that you could have at Redditch for a season, who would it be and why?
David Beckham, because A, he's cool, and B, I'd sell a lot of shirts.
Oh, yeah, you had your business head on when you made that decision, yeah.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Is there
Brilliant, and
another head?
it's
Is there another head that I should be wearing? I don't know. My hat's the
no,
business. That is
no,
yeah.
it's
We'd sell a
it's
lot
a,
of
it's a
shirts.
yeah, I agree. You definitely would, and
Yeah.
yeah, you couldn't get a bigger sponsor than you've already got, but you might get a few more.
There you go. I'm sure that would work quite well.
Dave, it's been absolutely a pleasure talking to you, and really appreciate you giving up your time and giving our viewers some insight into what it's like being chairman of a club like Redditch. And wish you all the luck for the rest of the season and beyond. And hopefully, we'll get to a game at some stage this season.
We'd love to have you along. More the merrier.